Actually, I went to Farmingdale College just to take a degree in biology, right, and went through the pest control program with Frischman. Frischman was friends with Steve Schwimmer through both professionally and in, I think they were neighbors, nearby neighbors in Long Island. And so Frischman asked Steve Schwimmer if he was interested in any of his graduates from the pest control program at Farmingdale. And Steve, of course, said yes, very much so. Steve Schwimmer also generously sponsored a scholarship for pest control students. And he may have been one of the earliest ones, Steve Schwimmer and Austin Frischman working together, to establish a dedicated scholarship for students of pest control. And so Steve Schwimmer sponsored that from Fumex Sanitation. They called it the Lou Weber Memorial.
I had a Lou Weber Memorial established for Lou Weber was one of the pest control operators at Fumex. When he died, there was a great outpouring of sentiment for him from his customers. The love for that man and all kinds of stories of how meticulous he was and how he was so concerned with the family health and whatnot. And because of that, I established a Lou Weber Memorial for a student that exemplified the same characteristics of Lou Weber. And Bobby Corrigan was one of the recipients of that. I think the first one, because he was everything that award meant.
So I was fortunate enough to receive that award from Fumex Sanitation. It's an award of not so much scholastic achievement as it is for humanitarian achievement of helping others, and so it became somewhat special because, you know, I that year tried to help a lot of PCOs through classes at night and on weekends and studying and to help them pass their certifications. And
then sometime later, I guess when he graduated Farmingdale, I took him in as an intern and then as a full-time employee, and he was very good.
Well, I have a degree in pest control. I have an associate's degree, so I'm going to be a supervisor or maybe a manager or something. But Steve Schwimmer said, the best thing you need to be is you need to be a technician for a couple of years perhaps to learn from the ground up how pest control works. And I have to say at first thinking, well, I have a degree and I should be maybe the supervisor right away or a manager, an office manager. But Steve made me a termite technician, of which I never did any termite. I read termites and studied termites, so to say, and for the associate's degree in pest control, but I never did the work. And so my first, year or thereabouts was termite work, drilling, slabs, concrete hollow block, crawl spaces, termite tech, doing what termite techs do, and working off the truck, so to speak, in termites. And I learned very quickly a couple things, which is what Steve and Austin wanted me to learn, is that to be good in pest control, it's physically demanding as well as mentally challenging. You have to look at this house, determine what kind of construction, is it supported slab, floating slab, monolithic slab, Is it concrete hollow block? Is there not? These kinds of things. And I have to tell you, Dave, I at first was like, boy, I went to school to start drilling holes and not seeing the bigger picture. And so I did that for a year with Steve's company, and then he made me a pest control route technician on commercial and residential accounts. So I was doing cockroach cleanouts in restaurants, mouse cleanouts, rat cleanouts, and I did request, I said I'd like the toughest jobs possible because I find them the most exciting and most challenging. And eventually Steve made me the company's troubleshooter because I was getting into being an inspector. And inspection became for me almost an obsession of, can I see more things than everyone else in this company? And I almost practiced it like a game of trying to get better at golf or tennis. And I became obsessed with inspecting.
How old were you at the time?
20, 21, 22-ish, those years. And
So you went 2 years of school and then...
Right, I did the associates, 2 years of school, then 3 years working with Fumex sanitation, and I felt like I wanted more school. I went back to Austin Frischman and asked for guidance as to, well, I would like to go back to school, where should I go? And he said, you know, this University of Georgia, you can get a degree in entomology, and Cornell, and he listed all the schools in Texas, A&M, and he said, Purdue has a unique program, Purdue University has a unique program in that you can actually get a degree entitled Urban and Industrial Pest Control. A degree, a bachelor's degree in that, which is a little bit different than just a degree in entomology per se. And right away I said, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do, because it's the pure, if that's the pure path to pest control and a degree in it, I want to specialize in urban entomology and pests of urban areas. And he said, well, then you need to go to Purdue. And Austin there also set that up, where he contacted Gary Bennett. Gary said, you know, I'll send all the paperwork, let's get this going. And the interesting thing is, I actually had to put myself through college, but I had no money to go to Purdue. But I applied without really much of a savings or anything. I figured, you know, one is I'll start saving as fast as I can, and two is if I do get accepted to Purdue, as soon as I get there, I'll get a job someplace and try to work my way through Purdue. Because when I look back, it was amazing. I showed up at Purdue when I did get accepted, I think with just a couple $100 in savings after I paid the tuition bill and books. And I had no money for the next semester.
What happened?
A couple things. Without me even realizing it, behind the scenes, people were taking me under their wing, so to speak, and they were. Gary Bennett, for example, knew I didn't have any money, and others did too. And Gary Bennett and Austin, working together a little bit, said, first and foremost, you need to excel in your classes, because if you get high grades, we can at least submit your name for different kinds of scholarships and grants and etc. So you have to get good grades as best you can, straight A's if possible. And two is, we'll find jobs for you where, you know, working in an entomology department and working with the urban group where you can make some money and save it. They were actually behind the scenes almost steering how I could do this and putting it together for me, and then, you know, putting me on that path. But one of the most critical things is Gary Bennett said, you know, I want you to try to get straight A's, because there is a scholarship that you can apply for with other students around the United States called the Pi Chi Mega Scholarship. And it's a pretty good sized scholarship at the time. time, and if you get it, it'll help. And he said, but you won't qualify without very high grades. And there was another grant that he said I could apply for, but again, without straight A's, kind of thought it was not going to happen. So I turned into probably what a lot of adults would look back and say an ideal student. I all my weekends went to studying. I remember clearly being in the dorm on Friday nights and studying all Friday night, which for I used to party on Friday nights in Long Island with my buddies. And at Purdue, there was no more partying, there was no more social thing. It was just get those high grades so you can survive here as a student if you want to get a degree. It was survival for me. And I studied Saturday night, Sundays, all week. I had to become a fanatic in my studies, and I did. So the end result is the grades were good. I applied for the Pike Eye Megaship. Austin Frischman wrote a letter of recommendation. Gary Bennett wrote a letter. Others, Steve Schwimmer. And I was fortunate enough to get that Pike Eye Mega scholarship. I can honestly say, David, it is no exaggeration to say without that scholarship, because I was on the bubble with my finances, perhaps I could have taken a loan out with a bank or something. But I already had a student loan from a bank. But I look back and I knew that I may not be able to stay. If I don't get this help somewhere, I will have to leave Purdue for a year, work, save, come back and do it piecemeal. And so fortunately, I was giving, and it turned out to be the first Pike Eye Mega Scholarship, by the way, ever. They just started it. And so my grades were very good, and I had good references, and people helped. And
Thank you, Fincannon, thank you. One before each meal.